Nobody gave him a fair shot. And now, the coach just said something that nobody expected. Think about where this kid started. A quarterback who broke records at Colorado, who played behind his father, Shedeur Sanders, one of the most polarizing figures in sports history, who got questioned, doubted, mocked, compared, and judged before he ever took a single NFL snap. The critics said he was only there because of his dad, said the competition wasn't real, said the NFL would expose him. And then, Cleveland took him. Not in the first round like many expected. Not even close. They waited. They let him slide. And when he finally landed in Ohio, the whole country was watching to see if he'd sink or swim. Well, OTAs just started, and Todd Monken just broke his silence.
When we two-spot, we divide up Shedeur and Deshaun. So when it was two-spotted, we just keep the guys in the same spot. Actually, Shedeur took the first team reps the rest of it.
And where he's at as far as his progression back from that injury.
It looked pretty good to me. Obviously, there's been a couple of days he gets a little sore, which is normal. But no one works harder. And we talk about a competitive spirit, and we don't even get to see him run. I think his rare trait is he's a bull.
Let's be real for a second. There is no other quarterback situation in the NFL right now that carries more storylines, more questions, and more noise than what's happening in Cleveland. You've got a franchise that has been starving for a real answer at quarterback for decades. You've got a fan base that's been burned so many times, they almost don't trust hope anymore. And now, you've dropped Shedeur Sanders into the middle of all of it. The pressure isn't just on him to play well. The pressure is on him to prove that he belongs, that the draft slide didn't define him, that the last name on his back is his name, earned, not inherited. That's a different kind of weight. Todd Monken, the Browns offensive coordinator, has been watching closely since the moment OTAs opened. And when the cameras finally caught up with him on the practice field, his words were calm, but they said everything. He talked about the two-quarterback rep structure, how when they run two separate groups, players stay in their designated spots. He talked about watching Shedeur take first-team reps. And the most telling thing, he didn't say it with hesitation. He said it like it was just the natural order of things. That means something. But not everyone sees it that way.
So you seem excited about that.
I am excited. I think it's a great start. I think for us, I wouldn't want it any more better than that. I mean, should we get to go down to Florida? Certainly a team that a year ago was in a similar spot as we are. Where are they going from there? And a team that was a playoff team and really had every opportunity to beat the Bills at home and didn't. But I'm excited. Playoff team in Florida, 100-something degrees, middle of the day. And if that doesn't get you fired up, that doesn't get our guys fired up for the offseason and then go to training camp, I don't know what will.
The internet has been brutal. Absolutely brutal. Since draft night, there have been segments, posts, hot takes, you name it, questioning whether Shedeur Sanders is actually an NFL-caliber quarterback or just a product of a system built around him. Too slow, can't handle the pocket, relied on his dad's recruiting. You've heard it. We've all heard it. And look, some of that criticism is fair football analysis. That's part of the process. Every young quarterback gets evaluated hard. But some of it has nothing to do with football. Some of it is just noise generated by people who made up their minds before he ever stepped onto an NFL field. What makes Shedeur's story different from most is that the scrutiny isn't purely athletic. It's personal. It's about lineage. It's about perception. And when you add those layers on top of an already brutal evaluation process, it becomes something else entirely. The question isn't just, can he play? The question the media keeps asking, whether they say it out loud or not, is, would anyone even be talking about him if his last name wasn't Sanders? And that question follows him everywhere he goes.
He's had plenty of success and has had disappointment, in his career. A number of things he couldn't control from an injury standpoint. But to come back and want to battle, want to further his career and change the narrative, I think it's really cool.
Do you feel like the quarterbacks are all bringing out the best in each other? Can you see the competition kind of elevating?
I don't know that. You'd have to ask those guys if that's what motivates them. I don't know that. I would guess that just the...
Here's the thing about being a quarterback in today's NFL. You don't just get judged on your own merits. You get compared constantly. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Every young quarterback who enters the league gets held up against the best in the business and found lacking at first. Shedeur's college numbers were genuinely elite. Completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, the production was real. But the NFL has a way of humbling everyone. The game is faster. The windows are tighter. The pressure is different. And in Cleveland, he's not walking into a situation where he's handed the keys on day one. There's competition. There's a depth chart. There's a coaching staff that needs to trust him before they give him the field. Monken made that clear. The reps are being divided. The competition is real. Nobody is handing anything to anybody. And honestly, that might be the best thing that ever happened to Shedeur Sanders. Because if he earns it, truly earns it, nobody can take it away from him. Nobody can say it was given. Nobody can blame the last name. What people don't talk about enough is who Shedeur Sanders actually is as a person. Not the draft prospect, not Deion's son, the actual human being. From everyone who's been around him, coaches, teammates, people in the building, the word that keeps coming up is competitor. Not just talented, not just athletic, competitive in a way that goes deeper than football. There's a certain kind of player who doesn't need the crowd to get motivated, who doesn't need the headlines to stay focused, who wakes up every single day with something to prove, not to the world, but to themselves. Shedeur has been described as exactly that kind of person. Think about everything he's navigated just to get to this point. Growing up under a spotlight that most people couldn't survive. Playing college football where every game was a media circus. Getting selected later than expected in the draft while the entire football world watched and debated his value in real time. And he showed up to OTAs focused, ready, taking reps, competing. That's not nothing. If you've been following this story and you want to stay with it, honestly, this channel is going to cover every single development in Shedeur's first season. Hit subscribe right now if you want to be there when this story hits its peak, because what's coming is going to be something to witness. Here's what's actually happening on the field, and this matters. OTAs are not pads. They're not game speed. There's no pass rush, the defense is limited in what they can do, and the environment is controlled. Monken himself almost laughed about it, talking about how they were throwing interceptions in 7-on-7 with no pass rush, calling it embarrassing. That tells you something about the culture he's building. Standards, even in practice, even when none of it counts. And within that environment, Shedeur is getting reps with the first team. He's learning the system. He's building chemistry with receivers. He's making mistakes, which is normal and expected, but he's also flashing the qualities that made NFL teams take notice in the first place. His footwork is clean. His release is quick. His football IQ, by all accounts, is legitimate. The pieces are there. The question now is development. How fast does it click? How well does he absorb Monken's system? How does he handle the moments in training camp when the pads come on and the intensity ratchets up 10 levels? That's when we'll start to get real answers. Something interesting has been happening quietly over the past few weeks. The tone is shifting. The people who wrote him off loudest are getting a little quieter. The fans in Cleveland, who are naturally cautious, understandably so, are starting to watch with genuine curiosity instead of just skepticism. Because when you actually pay attention to what's happening at OTAs, when you listen to what Monken says, when you watch the body language on that practice field, it doesn't look like a situation where someone is being set up to fail. It looks like a quarterback who is being developed seriously. And that matters enormously to Shedeur's trajectory. If the coaching staff believes in him, if the system is built to support him, If he gets real reps, real coaching, real opportunity, the sky is genuinely the limit. The turning point in his story might not come in a game. It might come quietly, in some July practice in the heat of training camp, when he makes a throw that makes everyone on that field stop and look at each other.
Those moments happen. They happen to every quarterback who makes it. Here's where this whole story lands. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need to be perfect right now. He doesn't need to silence every critic in year one. He doesn't need to carry the weight of every doubt that's been put on his shoulders before he's played a single regular season snap. What he needs to do is exactly what he's doing. Show up. Compete. Learn. Grow. The Cleveland Browns took a chance on him for a reason. Todd Monken is running plays through him for a reason. The first team reps aren't being handed out by accident. And if you know anything about players who have something to prove, truly something to prove, you know that chip on the shoulder doesn't go away easy. Every quarterback who has ever been doubted and came out the other side better will tell you the same thing. The doubt didn't break them. The doubt built them. Shedeur Sanders has had more doubt thrown at him than almost any prospect in recent memory. And he's still standing, still competing, still taking snaps on an NFL practice field with his chin up and his eyes forward. That story isn't over. It's just getting started. And when Chapter 1 of the Shedeur Sanders era officially begins on a real NFL Sunday in Cleveland, the whole world is going to be watching.